well, like our bodies are like antennas here on planet Earth, and we're picking up on frequencies. We're like a radio tower, right? And I like to describe it as alcohol being this dark cloud or something that's blocking your antenna.
When you start looking at your past and then the regret that comes when it's like, okay, I see all these past events over the last 2, 3, 4 decades, whatever it might be. Like I said, I can go all the way back till I'm 20. And it's not like people that I might have done something to. It's people I didn't do enough for. Does that make sense? Because of my drinking.
And this is so much, or such a big part of my method, is just learning to forgive yourself, and move with compassion and grace through life.
Hey everyone, you are back on the Sober Awakening podcast. I am your host, Tim Lyons, the president, CEO, and founder, which sounds really cool, but it is a self-given title, of Sober Awakening. And I am here today with my new friend, Casey Crespo. Casey is the author of a book titled Go to the Desert, Healing from Alcohol, a Spiritual Perspective, which, if you have been following any of the work that we've been doing at Sober Awakening or any of the content that we've been bringing you or my story and my journey, you know that this is right up our alley. I found Casey on TikTok a few months back, which is where I found a lot of people in this space. But I invited her on here because a lot of her content is right in line with what we talk about here at Sober Awakening. So with all of that being said, this is our new friend, Casey. Casey, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Very nice. Yes. And I was just telling Casey, I did not even know before we got on here that she was the author of her own book. Do you have it there with you that you could hold up? I would hold it up because there we go.
I guess I'm not that great at promoting it on TikTok. It feels a little unnatural, but yeah, I wrote a book.
Very good. No, that's awesome. Normally, when I know that somebody who's written a book comes on, I'll have it here. I will have bought it beforehand, but I will go in and I will be purchasing that book. So now everybody knows what it looks like if they listen to this podcast and they're interested in it. So all that being said, Casey, you talk about your content on TikTok has everything to do with alcohol abuse, and what it does to our natural, innate, intuitive abilities as far as dampening them. Now, for people out there who have followed my story, I won't totally rehash it here, but when I hit the age of 42, I had gone down a path that landed me in the local emergency department. I was 24/7 drunk. I was fully addicted to alcohol. That was the point, though, that I turned my life around. I call that my personal death, and then the following time, my resurrection, in a sense. So, I got sober, and it's been about a decade-long journey of sobriety now. What I experienced was about 4 or 5 years in, after my body started to heal from the alcohol abuse, I began spiritually seeking. And being born and raised Catholic, I was putting myself back into Catholic Mass a lot, and that was great, but it wasn't totally doing it for me. Through my employer, I found a wellness practice, or they promote wellness activities. And one of them was you had to go on and meditate for a month, and you got a certain amount of points, and it, got you a reduction on your health insurance and all that stuff. I meditated 10 minutes every day for a month, and it opened up things in me that were crazy. Now, like I had said in our pre-chat, I had been predisposed to some intuitive experiences when I was younger, but as I drank into my 20s and 30s, everything started to shut down. And things just started to come back online. When I took out the alcohol, I started meditating. In the last 4 to 5 years, I've been doing a lot of things to develop my quote unquote sixth sense, or my intuitive abilities. And I've gone down all the rabbit holes, and it's all awesome. But that's what we're here kind of to talk about today. And that's what you talk about with most of the things that I see on your TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I've always had an inclination towards spirituality and felt like I was in tune as well growing up and as a kid, but could never really quite grasp it. And I drank pretty solid almost every day for like 20 years of my life.
Okay.
I'm 41 now. And Yeah, alcohol is like a buffer. So it's like when we think of ourselves, we're like our bodies are like antennas here on planet Earth, and we're picking up on frequencies. We're like a radio tower, right? And I like to describe it as alcohol being this dark cloud or something that's blocking your antenna. So when
Mhm.
with the removal of alcohol, your signal gets clearer, and we raise our frequency. So yeah, that was definitely something I experienced. It's not like I was seeking that out specifically, it just happened. And when I got
Yeah.
sober, I was living in New York, which was a really hard place to be sober. And I was just like, my God, I need nature. Like, I can't do this concrete jungle anymore. And I got really sensitive. And about New York, like, I got super sensitive to just the collective energy of the city. I lived in like a heavy partying town in
Yeah.
Brooklyn, in Bushwick. And it's just like I could feel the energy of that nightlife and the drugs and the alcohol out there. And I'm
Pretty
just like, I
dense.
have to get out.
Yeah, so you were a pretty big partier when you were younger.
But yeah,
How
raver.
did
Yeah.
take us back and tell us kinda how it started and what is the worst you got? Like, for me, my breaking point was going to the emergency department because I
Mm,
was at age 42. I had tried to quit sporadically, but unsuccessfully for a couple
yeah.
years before that. But mine was, go into the emergency department, and that's when I allowed myself to quote unquote die. And the last 10 years has been like my resurrection. But
Yeah.
what was your partying history and what brought you to the point of cutting that off?
Okay. So, I mean, I started drinking and doing drugs when I was 16 when I discovered the rave culture. Um, yeah. So, of course, like, drugs were prevalent there. I just kind of never stopped with that. There were like I've tried almost every drug on the planet, but alcohol was the one that was like the daily thing, you know. And I had I would say like my lowest point was when I was living in Atlanta and I was in a really alcohol enabling relationship and that turned into a stalker situation and I'm just like this is the frequency that I'm inviting in right now. This is what I'm attracting, this low
Right.
vibrational. And I want to say my closest rock bottom incident was when I fell down a flight of stairs. I was like, as I was going to this club called the Music Room in Atlanta, and I was wearing some slippery shoes. I wanted to blame it on the rain, like literally because it was raining, and I'm like, my shoes didn't have enough tread,
Had
and I wasn't that drunk, but I was
nothing to do with
fine.
you being drunk, right?
Yeah, nothing at all, right?
No.
I cannot believe I lived through that. Like and I wanted to get up and continue dancing.
Right.
And I was feeling my teeth and I had chipped my teeth. I had a golf ball size, like
Ooh.
dump bump on my head. I'm like, "How did I not break a bone?" But I just saw it. I was, like, in it in slow motion, like, tumbling down the stairs, and people were rushing to me like, "How are you, like, standing up right now?" And I'm just like, "I don't know. I'm gonna go dance." And then after a few minutes, I'm like, "Okay, I gotta go home." But here's the thing, I continued drinking for, like, 5 more years after that.
Okay.
So it wasn't, like, a super dramatic like cut off experience. What really came 5 years later was well, I was in another very alcohol enabling relationship later, and we were both going back and forth about drinking, and like it was really unhealthy because one person would stop for 2 weeks and then the other person would stop, and then we were never on the same page. And I'm like, you know what? I just can't do this anymore. Like, I want to stop drinking and I can't do it in this relationship. So that had to end. And I ended up going to Hawaii by myself. And I ended up doing a sacred plant ceremony there. It was not ayahuasca, but it was a native brew of Hawaii. But that required you to be sober for 2 weeks before. And I couldn't even do that. I could only do it for 1 week before.
Okay. So the plant ceremony, one of the prerequisites was that you had to be sober, kind of clean your
Yes.
system out for 2 weeks before.
Yes.
You could only handle 1 week.
Yeah. Yeah. But then after 1 week, I'm like, so the ceremony was on New Year's Eve, and I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be a reset, like, this is the perfect opportunity," because, traditionally, every New Year's has been like a huge party night, right? So I'm like, maybe I can switch my brain. And then I met someone in Hawaii who I ended up he wanted to get sober too, so we were kind of like sober buddies. So he's like, "I'll do it with you." So yeah, it really helped to have that sober buddy, and I just used that ceremony as an excuse to let's just give my body a break for a year and see how it feels. And then a year turns into you don't want it anymore. Like you don't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So that's a very long-winded
No, it's
story.
okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of just naturally lost the desire for it
Well, it's like
after
I'd
after
had that.
going down a pretty dark path. You started, it sounds like you did the plant ceremony, and somehow the light started to creep back in.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, it was just something there's so much gray area in sobriety that isn't really talked about. You kind of I mean, you have, like, that rock bottom moment, but not everybody has that
Yeah.
switching point, and this is kind of the gray area that I talk about because it's like, yeah, you've drank too much. You know you're meant for more. You know you have more in you. You don't have to reach a rock bottom to start making a change, and it's like I had that internal voice. Actually, literally the whole time I was drinking, I'm like, "You should drink less, you should drink less, you should drink less," and I ignored my own intuition for years because of the stuff that comes up when you're sitting alone with yourself sober,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm kind of teaching in my method, like, you have to get comfortable with your shadows.
Yeah. E I knew probably, like I said, I didn't hit my final bottom until 42. I can think back now with clear, sober eyes and recount my experiences and my self-awareness, and I can look back to about 2021, when somewhere in there, I knew that if I didn't have a issue with alcohol at that point, which I did, I was in denial, but somewhere deep down, I always knew I was gonna have to deal with it. I thought it was just gonna be me being able to, tone it down when I got a little
Yeah,
older and I settled down and stuff, but
that's the lie
I
you
kn
tell yourself.
yes, I knew way back to about 20 or 21 that, I didn't drink normally, and I was going to have to do something about it one day. But at that point, it's like, well, it's not going to be quitting cold turkey or anything like that, but I knew, kind of like you knew. It's that you're saying it's that voice in your head. You know
Yeah,
that it's
yeah,
something you have to deal with.
yeah, 100%.
So let me ask you, it sounds like alcohol left your life in kind of an organic way. You didn't have that hit the floor rock bottom moment. Um, what started the whole spiritual direction that you've taken? Was that before the alcohol and the partying? Was that a come online after? How did that kind of blossom and grow within you?
Well, I've always had like a predisposed interest in spiritual concepts, right? So I've been into things like astrology my whole life.
Yeah,
But when someone introduced me to human design and I was like, "Oh my god, this is life changing."
yeah,
And like seeing myself through that lens, it really helped me with my own recovery and and then I went even deeper into astrology. 'Cause it's like, I mean, when you're drinking all the time, you just don't care, or you can't go there, you just can't go as deep, and, like, people can think it's so funny, like, I thought I was spiritual
yeah,
back then, but it's like, no, I was just I don't even know, I was just playing, I was just dabbling.
yeah. Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about me. You talk about, always being interested in spirituality and stuff like that. So, two things that stand out. Like when I was about 4 years old, I can remember laying in my bed and I can visually, I was just kind of looking at the wallpaper. I was four, we had these animals on the wallpaper in my room and everything. And all of a sudden, I felt this rush of energy come over me. And I knew that no matter what, I was always safe. I
Oh,
was always loved. There was a presence there. I can remember it. And At 4 years old, I'm like, "What is this?" And it's like I knew, quote unquote, God loved me and God would never leave me. Now, that was how my, little Catholic boy Christian brain interpreted it, but
Mhm.
that was it. I was divinely touched in some way when I was 4. We'll never forget that. Number 2, I was about 16 and I was taking a nap one day in the afternoon. And here's the other part that really opened my eyes that there's something else out there. This stuff is real. And I kind of woke up in that lucid state where I had sleep paralysis. And all of a sudden, my heart chakra started vibrating like real hard. Never now I know what it is. Before I didn't. I'm like this vibrating in my chest and
Yeah.
I was above my body. My consciousness was outside of my body. It was a spontaneous out of body experience. And people might think I'm nuts. I have tried to make it happen again. I've done all the online stuff and oh, do this and meditate like this. I can't do it. I almost don't want to do it, because I've made the acquaintance of some friends who have kind of talked me into, our spirits want to be in these bodies. You really don't want to go out of the body.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not attracted to that, but it really happened. Like it really did happen. So those were my 2 early experiences. And then there was some
Yeah.
other stuff. But so that kind of like, when my spiritual and intuitive side started turning on through meditation, I already had that foundation of there is something otherworldly out there. I know it. It's not just
Yeah.
what I'm told at church or in the Bible or whatever. There is something, whether you believe it's what you read in the Bible or any of the other texts like the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or anything like that. There's something else out there because I've been out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know it
Yeah.
happened, you know?
Yeah.
It's unlike anything I ever experienced before. Anyway, there's that. But where I was going with this, how did your, what's your spiritual practice right now and how did that kind of turn on for you before we get into the human design?
My spiritual practice right now, I'm honestly just I literally just go and walk in the woods.
Yeah.
Like, that is my spiritual practice. I feel like I'm meditating when I'm just walking mindfully.
Mhm.
I've here's where I'm at right now in my life. I worked as a tailor in the film industry. I was, like, totally burnt out, and, that was incredibly soul-sucking, right? And so I'm doing the work right now of, like deconditioning what society has told us to do, like, what our parents told us to do, like, all these shoulds, like, so right now, my spiritual practice is learning to, um to be still and, like, knowing and, like, practicing that my self-worth is inherent and not earned through my work,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm actively healing, I'm actively shedding old identities. I feel like connecting with nature is a spiritual practice for me. I've been in human design class for about a year. So that's like has to do with the deconditioning as well and just like noticing, just really like tuning into my body and being present and not like out there in the chaos of the external world. I'm
Right.
at a place right now where I can just be really present. I don't think that, so a spiritual practice, I don't think it has to be like big, it's
Yeah.
just it's really just a practice of tuning into the now
Yeah.
for me
Did you
and
ever have any of
surrendering.
those did you ever have any of those, like, experiences, anything, like, pronounced, like my little spontaneous pop out of the body? Has anything like that ever happened to you? Like
Nothing.
did the spiritual intuitive knowing just kinda come on gradually and organically like your sobriety has?
I mean, like my dreams are really prolific and
Mhm.
there's been a couple times where I've, like, literally just, like, it's been like, I've dreamt so close to what happened that day,
M'kay.
like, telling the future in my dreams or, deja vu, except I dreamt it already. Like, there was this time that, I was living in New York and I went to Provincetown. Provincetown? P-Town, yeah. I went to P-Town and, well, a couple weeks before, I had this dream where I was, like, traveling, and I didn't even, have the trip booked yet, but I was traveling and I ended up in, like, this, um this, like, stone town, and I was walking around, and then with my boyfriend at the time, we took this trip to Provincetown, And I didn't know anything about the town. I didn't know how it looked, but we were walking down and I don't know if you've been there, but it's like cobblestone streets and it looks like Europe. Like it looks like this very old street. And I just like stopped in my tracks and I'm like, holy shit, I dreamt this. I dreamt this like 2 weeks ago. We didn't even have this trip booked. Like I thought it was just like an old like, it didn't make any sense, but I literally dreamt this corner. So, it's like, that's kind of how prolific my dreams can be. So that's where I am. I, like, play in the dream realm, and I can
Yeah.
control my dreams and stuff. Yeah.
Dreams, I've been reading a little bit about dreams lately, and they can do a lot of things. You
Yeah.
can see into future possibilities that your path is leading you toward. They can do the very simple things of processing the day's emotions. I have to look more into this. I don't know whether it was clickbait, but I recently saw something where science of some sort of science, whatever everybody says science thinks, or scientists now say, who knows who said it, but that when we go and we dream, there are actually portions of our brain that live a whole lifetime in the time we're asleep,
Yeah.
and we forget it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Could that happen? I don't know. And then it's like, well, is that happening right now? Which,
I know. We're in a
you know
simulation.
when you listen
I
to the
know.
when you listen to all the near death experiencers out there and everything like
Yeah.
that, they say it's just like waking up from a dream. And it's like,
Yeah.
wait, that was just like now this is reality. I was just
I
dreaming.
know. Yeah, like last week, actually, I had a dream inside of a dream. Like I was lucid
Yeah.
dreaming
Yeah.
inside the dream. And I was like, and then I woke up and I'm like, and then my consciousness went one step back from where I am right now. And I'm like, holy shit, we're just dreaming.
Right. Yeah.
It could be just that. Like it was wild, like the
Yeah.
removal of myself in
Right?
that
And
moment.
and and when you're in the dream, when you're dreaming, you think it's real,
Yeah.
right? Unless you're lucid dreaming, which is a whole different topic, which I've been able to do that. Like I said, I've tried to do the out of body thing again, and I could never make it happen. But I can lucid dream sometimes, not like at will, but that's kind of fun. Anyway, not
Yeah.
to digress into lucid dreaming, that's a whole different topic. But when you're in the dream, you think it's real. You wake up and it's like, oh, I was just dreaming. Well, in a sense, how do we know we're not just in a dream right now? Which
Exactly.
we very well could be, right?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
like I said, you listen to the near death experiencers, we are. But so anyway, you've found in your sobriety this element or this philosophy, this school of thought called the human design,
Yes.
which has changed you, been such an eye-opening thing that you've put into practice in your own life. You're the first person I've ever been had on who has mentioned the human design, although I've heard the term before. Can you explain a little bit about that and what that is?
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, human design, it's like if you are interested in things like astrology, then you might find human design interesting. It's basically like a roadmap. Like if you were given an instruction manual to how you were supposed to operate, then it would be human design because it it tells us how we're supposed to make decisions and how we're supposed to use our energy correctly. So there's 4 different energy types and a few different strategies. And essentially it's a synthesis of all of these systems. It's astrology, it's the Chinese I Ching, it's the Hindu chakra system, the Kabbalah tree of life, quantum mechanics. And I think I'm missing a few elements, but it's all combined into this one chart. And it just tells you so much like specifically about how you're supposed to operate. So it's like if you say you're burnt out, then like we can literally look at your chart and I can probably tell you why you're burnt out if you're not using your energy correctly, you know. So
Mhm.
it's been such an important tool for me because um a large part of why I drank was like to deal with my own level of sensitivity, right? So, for example, there's an emotional center in human design and it can either be defined or undefined. So mine is undefined and this means I'm the human design definition of an empath. So I absorb and amplify other people's emotions.
Yeah.
And it's like that was a huge one. When I understood that about myself, I'm like my God, these emotions aren't even mine. I'm just carrying other people's emotions. And
Yeah.
then I was able to like let it go. So it's like, that's the magic of human design, just inherently understanding how you are, how you operate, what your energy is like in each of these specific areas called energy centers. Yeah. So it's just been so profound on my own journey that that has become part of my method, the spiritual sober method, is sharing people's human design. And it's just incredible, like like watching people literally discover themselves. It's magical
Yeah.
to watch. So like I've never had anyone be like, no, this is not me at all. Like everybody's like, holy shit, where's this been all my life? You know? Like I
Yeah.
understand it's just you can approach yourself with such compassion and grace when because it's not always something you want to hear, but it's how you're built, you know? So it's yeah, for example, my mom, she's really having a hard she's kind of having a hard time accepting it because she's like, "I don't wanna be this." And I'm like, "But if you just accept it, you know, like, if you then you can work through it and accept yourself, you know, and life will be easier and less restricting."
Yeah, is it kind of along the lines of just kinda the whole go with the flow thing? It's just not really, maybe.
No, because there's
Or
different ways of
authenticity or
I mean, auth like, it's kind of a roadmap to your own authenticity,
okay, that's where
definitely.
I'm kinda going with it.
Yeah.
Be your authentic self. Go with the
Yes.
flow is kind of like a bad way to I was jumping ahead here. You be your authentic self, and then life will flow to you as it should.
Absolutely. And there's a way so in human design, there's a way we're supposed to make decisions, right? So for example, I have
Oh, yeah,
something called
lay this on me because I know there's a lot of people out there that have a decision they're gonna make today, or they're trying to make a decision, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, okay, what do I do?" You know?
yeah, yeah. So that's a huge part of human design because it's like we're aligning with our highest path essentially one tiny decision at a time. So, I mean, we know in other spiritual trains of thought that like we're not supposed to live in our minds. We are not our minds. And in human design, it's the same thing. Our mind is never our authority. So our authority can be different things, which is our decision making process. But for example, I have sacral authority. So I'm a generator and respond best to yes or no questions. So when I'm making a decision, it's like it's not where do you want to eat? That's like I don't know. But if you ask me, do I want Mexican food, then I can answer like, yeah, that sounds good. Like
Uh-huh.
in my gut, that's my gut yes or no response as opposed to being in my mind about it. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. My wife and I just passed our 25th year. We celebrated last fall our 50th year anniversary, and we have this thing going all the time. I'm always like, "I don't know why we have to do this drill all the time," but she and I think this is very common to a lot of people because I hear this a lot, when she's like, "I'm hungry." "Well, where you wanna go get something to eat?" "Yes." "Where do you wanna go?" "I don't
Uh-huh.
know." And then
Uh-huh.
I have to, like, literally rattle off
Yes. She
places
might be a
and
sacral authority. I'd be interested.
Okay, I'm very that rings a bell. It's a drill we do all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, you like, because I can when I start rattling off places, like, I'm good with any one of these. So I'm just like, why can't we just like, if you don't know, why don't we just go to the first place I say, you know?
But yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. I have to kind of feel into what that might be like, you know.
Uh-huh. So a sacral authority, that's just one type of
Yeah, that's just one of I think 7 authorities. So,
okay.
yeah, but that's kind of a big one, I think. Yeah, so that's like 33% of the population. Half of
Yeah.
the population has emotional authority, where they
Uh-huh.
have to ride an emotional wave before they make decisions. I think
Okay.
7% is a splenic authority, which is your intuition. So, and then the other ones are really rare. But yeah,
Mm.
so I'd be interested to know yours.
You know what? I would lean toward that 7%, the intuitive authority,
Huh?
because I
Yeah.
make a lot of decisions based on how I feel at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I have to say that I do. What are a couple of the rare categories? I'm curious.
So it's also okay, let me back up and go into the types, the 4 types. So essentially, we have manifestors,
Okay.
projectors, generators, and reflectors. Manifestors are like the king queen energy kind of. They're the initiators.
Okay.
They're only like 10% of the population, and they're here to initiate and inform. Projectors are 17 to 20% of the population, and they're here to guide. Generators are 70% of the population, and they're kind of like the worker bees of the world.
Mhm.
And I'm a generator. That's split into two types: manifesting generators and pure generators. So I'm a pure generator. And then reflectors are 1% of the population. And they're here to just reflect back what we're doing right or wrong. So it's like the manifestors say, we're going to build the pyramids. The generators are like, cool, we're going to push the wheelbarrows and build it brick by brick. And the projectors are like, you should do it this way because it's very more effective this way.
Mm.
So back to how to make decisions, projectors, they have to wait for an invitation, wait to be seen. And they could be splenic authority or emotional authority. The rare authorities, though, for the reflector, they need to wait a lunar cycle because there's transits, much like the astrology transits,
Okay.
that affect their decision making process. Another rare one is a projector type. There's self authority, so they need to speak through what they're working through.
Okay.
And then there's an ego authority, which I did a presentation on this one in my class, and Al Pacino has an ego authority. He's an ego manifester. So
Okay.
so he just like says what he wants to do and does it, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's environmental authority, which is also projected. Their mental projectors have environmental authority where they need to change locations and have a
Mhm.
sounding board. They need to have their close friends to talk to.
Gotcha. So basically, we could probably go into all these different types of pathways through the human design. But what
Yes,
it is a system that will, if you jump into it, show you what type of person you are at a very fundamental level and how you best move through the world.
absolutely.
And then
So yeah,
if you can learn how to best move through the world based on who you are, then you meet the least resistance and everything kind of unfolds
yes.
as it
And
should.
you just go in alignment, right? So
Yeah.
when I discovered human design and started living by my sacral authority, my mind was running the show. It's like, well, I need to make money and and this, I've been sewing all my life. This is what I do, but I don't give a shit about working in the film industry. This does not
Right.
excite me. Like,
Yeah.
this is not a sacral yes for me. So I started to say no and I walked away from that job.
Yeah,
And
how's that
here
working
I
for
am.
you? Because a lot of people wanna do that, but they're afraid, "How am I gonna pay the bills?"
Yeah. Well, there is that element. And
Yeah, unfortunately.
so yeah, so what I did, so like I said, I was sober in New York a year, but New York, that's where also made the most money in my life. So I worked on this show, which is out on Netflix right now,
Mhm.
for 6 months, the last 6 months that I lived there. So I knew that I wanted to leave New York. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to squirrel away all this money, take this money and run. Right. So I pretty much sold everything I owned, condensed everything I owned into a minivan, went to Portland, Oregon to see my family, and I bought a camper there. Or I bought the camper when I was still living in New York. So I was like I just got rid of everything. And I'm like, I'm just going to live a cheap life in the desert. And
Yeah, okay.
I found this place in Arizona that was like $180 for 6 months to live there. And that's where I finished writing my book. And it's called Go
Okay.
to the Desert. And yeah, yeah, I got a
So
little off
you
tangent
literally
there.
went to the desert.
I did.
Alright.
I did.
Yeah, so go to the desert where you healed from alcohol and gained spiritual perspective.
Absolutely. And
Kind of, yeah, like your
that's
title
like,
says.
yeah, well, that's the title is a metaphor. Well, the title, you'll like this one. The shaman from the sacred plant ceremony.
Yeah.
that I did in Hawaii.
Okay.
He visited me in a dream
All
and told
right.
me to go to the desert. He told me to
Okay.
go to the desert. He was like he showed up, like, in my face in the dream, so clear, and he's like, "Go to the desert," and then disappeared, and I'm like,
Okay.
"Okay."
So let me ask you though, have you had communication with said shaman since that dream? So has the shaman hasn't come to you and said, "I put myself in your dream."
No, but I'm curious. Maybe I'll contact him and be like, "I named it, my book after you."
Yeah. Yeah. Because you know what? If you read, I have not read the whole thing through, but I think it's called Diary of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda.
Okay.
He talks about his, I don't know if it was his guru or what it might be, but he was starting to have these type of experiences when he would meet these, further along spiritual masters or whatever. He would see them, he would, have dreams and they would be communicating with him. And then in real life, it would be like, yeah, I talked to you in your dream last night. Didn't you see it? And it'd be like, oh, yeah, you did.
Wow.
Yeah, stuff
Wow.
like that was happening to him.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an actual instance. It's been a while since I picked up the book, about 12 months, but there were a lot of things like that,
Yeah.
where he was seeing things that happened in the other world realm materialize or be proven in this one,
Yeah.
to like where there was, proof of the experience. When I said I had that like spontaneous out of body experience when I was 16, I told one friend about that.
I'm
And
sure.
I thought this guy would think I was crazy. He was like when I was in high school, I was like Mr. Beer drinker, football player, stuff like that. That's the kind of guys I hung out with. And he was one of those. I thought he was crazy. He lived about I thought he would think I was crazy. He lived about 5 blocks from me, but it was like he totally was like intrigued by it. Totally believed me. And he's like,
Yeah.
dude, if that ever happens again, let's test this. You float down to my house and come back and then tell me what I was doing. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
god.
"All right." And, I never had it never really happened again to where I could make that happen, I
Yeah.
tried, but, the fact that, it's kinda interesting, the fact that I was really surprised by that, though, the fact that somebody who I didn't think would take me seriously did take me seriously, kind of
Yeah.
was really one of the catalysts behind me having the guts to go out with this sober awakening platform that I have.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because I think, in today's world, like my day job, my Bruce Wayne job, I do medical sales and everything like that. People aren't into all this stuff or they don't talk about it. But you know what? There's a lot of closet curiosity about spirituality out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
There
Absolutely.
really is,
Yeah.
even though the pastor or the priest or whoever says, oh, that's bad,
Mhm.
there's a lot of curiosity about it. And that experience with him helped me have the guts to do this. But I digress a little bit. So yeah, let's back up just a little bit. Let's talk about though back to alcohol.
Okay.
I talk about with my effort here, within Sober Awakening, the fact that you take alcohol away and you will start allowing things to come online that you might not even know existed. In your experience, and I've seen you put out several TikToks on this, you know, what do you preach about alcohol use and how it impacts your, intuitive abilities?
When I say that, like, I've said this a couple times on TikTok, like, when you stop drinking, you don't even know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And I totally mean that because, like, when I stopped, like, one of the big reasons was my brain was just sad gray mush, you
Uh-huh.
know? And I'm not sure, like, of course, alcohol weakens your brain, but I wonder, have you heard any science behind what it does to your pineal gland?
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually not, I just had that question in that moment, but yeah, yeah, I didn't even know what I was capable of. I went to school for fashion design. I never thought that I would write a book, right? And, like, when I wrote this book, it was 100% channeled through me. Like, it was so easy to write. I'm just like, I have to get this information out.
Yeah.
Like, I have to share this.
Yeah.
And it's gonna help people. This is a perspective that, like, is not talked about enough. I felt an urgency to get it out. And the fact that I wasn't even a writer and it just flowed out of me, that just, like, told me how connected,
Yeah.
that I was being. And it's kind of like recording that in real time,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
coming back online. So it's
Yeah.
like it captures a very specific moment of like of transition, I think,
Yeah.
of like, yeah.
You asked me about the pineal gland. Actually, alcohol calcifies it is what,
Yes.
is one of
Yeah.
the many things that calcifies it from what I've researched or been told. The pineal, for those who do not know it, there is something called the pineal gland in your head, in your brain. And I believe from a purely scientific or medical standpoint, it is what they say produces melatonin.
Yes.
But on a spiritual level, it's what the spiritual and intuitive people say is actually the core receiver transmitter to all the information that exists out there in the ethers, in all that is, that comes in and is filtered through our brain to our existence right here. So when the pineal, being a transmitter receiver, is calcified, you aren't you aren't open to receiving all the information that is out there in the consciousness field, the ethers, whatever you want to call it, that is available to you. So,
Yeah.
is that as
Yeah.
you understand it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, when I, like many people, took the alcohol away, and as that pineal started to decalcify, things started to, things just started to happen, man. They really
Yeah.
did, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's like you begin trusting it too, and with quitting alcohol, it's really been, a huge element of surrender,
Yeah.
but with just, like, trusting with trusting your intuition and just following it. So, yeah, that's been a big part of it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you even, surrender is what it's all about, really, when it
Yeah.
comes to the healing journey. The first step, we have to admit, we have to surrender and admit we are powerless. If you go to AA, it's step one, admitted we were powerless over alcohol. I don't know that I like saying that anymore because we have more power than we want to claim, you know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
just weren't claiming our power, but we had to surrender back kind of to our own self, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
Surrender the external vice, alcohol, whatever, that we were giving our power to and take it back. So at any rate, yeah, that's where I kind of am with it all.
Yeah.
So what kind of services are you offering now that you've, left New York, you've gone to are you still in the desert?
No, I'm currently in North Carolina.
You're currently in North Carolina. All right. Oh, the North Carolina. I've been watching the Peace Walk, the monks. Have you seen them at all?
No,
The peace
what's
monks
happening?
with their peace dog, Aloka and stuff. You should look
No,
at
I
it on
haven't seen
TikTok.
that.
There is this group of Buddhist monks whose monastery was in Texas, and they have been doing a 2,300-mile walk from Texas on up to Washington, D.C. They are currently, last I saw, they were in North Carolina.
Okay, interesting. I'll
And
have to
they're
look. I
walking
can't believe I haven't
along. They
heard
have
about
this
that.
beautiful little dog, not little dog, it's a dog named Aloka, who, when they were on a pilgrimage to India in Calcutta, I believe a couple years ago, this stray dog just started following them and would not leave. So they adopted the dog. And now
Oh,
they are walking for peace. And a lot of people are taking it out of context with the whole social climate right now. The social climate always is the social climate, but they're saying it's politically motivated in this and that. But if you listen to the monks themselves in Buddhist philosophy, it's all about awakening the inner peace within everybody. They will tell
mm,
you that you have to fight the enemy within. That's all that there ever is the enemy within.
yes.
You have to
Yes.
fight that enemy. And when you come to peace with yourself and you have overcome the enemy within, then you can radiate that out into the world.
Absolutely.
And so they are walking not really for, yes, for world peace or peace in whatever way you look at it, in the external environment. But they say the way to find that they are actually walking to spark the light of peace that that is within each person, you know,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
people want to see change, but we also know that, you have to be the change you want to see. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
going out, you see somebody being a jerk out there, going out and being a jerk to them. That's not being the change you want to see. That's just two people who are now being jerks.
Yeah, and I think that, I definitely believe in that ripple effect, and that's why I'm here helping people, see their own shadows and transmute those, because I'm over here doing the same inner fight, you know?
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I've had to get over so much like fear of being seen, fear of like speaking the spiritual stuff,
Yeah.
and I could not even imagine doing this right here like a year ago.
Uh-huh.
There's been a lot of throat chakra opening and
Yeah.
stuff for me to be able to be here. But yeah, I'm really passionate about, yeah, just spreading that ripple effect and helping people heal themselves too, and like reflecting. I'm here to be a mirror for other people
Yeah.
and reflect their truth back to them so that they can do their own inner work and yeah, raise the frequency together.
Yeah. So you said you've branched off now, you've authored your book and you've branched off into coaching, right?
Yes.
All right. So what's your typical type of clientele?
My typical clientele
What are
is
they looking
already
for? Yeah. What do they
what
come
am
to
I
you for?
um so I can't help people that are like physically addicted to alcohol. That's not
Sure.
really
Yeah.
my forte, but like, people come to me that are still drinking, like not that much a day, but still drinking a little bit and maybe
Mhm.
taking some breaks here and there. And they're like,
Yeah.
I need more. I know I'm capable of more. And they're probably already interested in things like astrology
Yeah.
and shadow work and stuff. So, um, what I offer is a 21-day container to
Mhm.
kind of like break the habit and like I don't I don't like focusing on the problem. I like to divert your attention and give you a different perspective, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, in the program and in the 21 days, there's a self-guided reflection resource or interactive workbook, if you will, that goes through days step by step. And it kind of like peels away the layers.
Mhm.
So, and then there's 3 coaching calls, 1 per week. So the first week is kind of more like traditional sober coaching, even though I don't really like that term.
Right.
But every call is rooted in nervous system regulation. So you have to feel safe to heal.
Yeah.
Your body has to feel safe.
Yeah.
You can't throw a bunch of affirmations at a body that is in fight or flight mode.
Yeah. And
You know,
and
it's
for the listeners out there, just to, we hear a lot of this nervous system regulation talk. It's kind of a buzzword out there right now. Regulate your nervous system. It means chilling the freak out,
yeah.
basically.
But it's
Calm
like
the body down.
it's amazing that people really don't know how to do it. They really, I mean, because they're stuck in this loop of drinking, and that's what they've trained their nervous system to reach for. So that's the
Yes.
neural pathways that are the strongest in their brain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's really about making those shifts, those micro moments of like, okay, I'm safe here. I'm safe to sit with my feelings. Let's breathe it out. I do like tapping
Okay.
with my
Tapping.
client. Yeah, I do
Nice.
humming.
Humming.
Yeah, and box breathing, just like
Breath work. Yeah. Good stuff.
people just need to be guided.
Yeah.
You can my clients just want to be walked through it. They don't want to go to a
Yeah.
YouTube video themselves. They want the
Right.
personalized.
They want the personal interaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
And that's
something to be said for that.
yeah. So, yeah, so my first call is some nervous system work, and I'll get you grounded in the actual tools that you're going to use when you have a craving come up, bringing you back to the present moment, maybe like calling a friend. And then the second week is human design. So after the nervous system work, so I'm going to
So then
reflect
we
back
then
to
we get into what type of person are you?
yes, and how you're supposed to be using your energy, because lots of the people that come to me are like burnt the out, they're overworked, they are anxious, and it's like, okay, well, let's see how you're using your energy incorrectly.
Yeah.
So that's usually a big aha moment for them.
Yeah.
And then the third week is more future oriented. So I go deeper into your purpose and your shadows using astrology. So astrology, especially the Chiron placement, the wounded healer,
Uh-huh.
reflects to you what you're here to heal this lifetime. So, and I have a few questions that reflect your deepest, darkest shadows so that we can turn your shadows into purpose. And so I give a presentation that essentially kind of congeals their purpose together. And then we do a meditation where they meet their future selves. So it's like anchoring themselves in this future version of themselves. It's like that's what you need to focus on, not like don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. You need to focus on your future,
Uh,
what you're here to do.
yeah.
So I think like when you're rooted in your authenticity and you're rooted in your purpose, then the need for drink goes away.
It really does. It really does. It gets to a point when if you are grounded in yourself, then you don't really desire
Yeah.
drinking anymore.
Yeah.
But I really like your approach or where you are meeting people on their journey. And it's so congruent with what I'm trying to do with my sober awakening platform. I say I'm not really there are a lot of great people who do the work of getting people off the street first, when you're hardcore addicted. I'm not
Right.
that guy though. I'm not going to go take you off the street, take you to
No.
the rehab facility, that type. I'm for the person who, okay, now we're sober. And now what do I do? Okay, the alcohol's left my body. What do I do? I'm spiritually seeking. So with my platform, I'm trying to bring in people like you, all kinds of different philosophies and modalities so that people can find what works for them. And through doing that, your step 3, they will find their purpose, you know?
Yes.
So I'm exactly trying to bring to people what you are offering right where you're at. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
you run a 21-day program that basically you help people work to ground themselves into who they are, figure out who they are, figure out their purpose. We start by cleaning it out, getting rid of the alcohol with the sobriety coaching, figuring out who they are as a person with their human design, and then going into the future work of, so now what is our purpose and how should we direct ourselves?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Magic, magic. That is exactly where I think a lot of people are at. And I
Yeah.
will
And
tell
it's like
people,
people that stop drinking, I mean, I developed this because I'm like, this is what I needed
uh-huh.
when I was getting sober. It's like you're not told by all of these like, happy sober influencers. They don't talk about the shadow and they don't talk about
Yeah.
how you have to dismantle your entire life.
Oh my god, yes.
Like the unraveling of the life that's harder than the stopping drinking.
Oh my
You
god.
don't know who the you are.
My gosh, there's so much to it, and even when you're somebody like me on a sobriety journey now for over 10 years,
Yeah.
you hit new points.
I
Like,
know. I'm still going underneath the layers. I'm 3 years in right now, and I'm just like, I just leveled up. I just hit a new layer of depth, which like,
oh
plummets
yeah.
me upward.
And now, when you're in AA, typically what people do is they go and they make amends to people who they have harmed in the past through
Mhm.
active doing something. Okay, well, that's all done. Nobody talks about like down the road when you start looking at your past and then the regret that comes when it's like, okay, I see all these past events over the last 2, 3, 4 decades, whatever it might be. Like I said, I can go all the way back till I'm 20. And it's not like people that I might have done something to, it's people I didn't do enough for. Does that make
Mm,
sense? Because of my
yeah,
drinking. And it's look at all the times I did not show up authentically because of my drinking, and now I
yeah,
regret those.
totally. And it's like,
Which
realized
is
when I stopped, I was like, I didn't know how to be authentic because,
yeah,
I would hide behind alcohol in any social situation
yeah,
and really drink to hide my sensitivity. Like I don't actually like being in big groups of people.
yeah,
I don't really like it because I'm too
yeah,
sensitively overwhelmed.
yeah,
And so that was like kind of just a huge life change from
yeah,
like the partying to just like
yeah.
actually being okay with being alone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, these are all things that as people go through their sobriety journey, they have to deal with. And I tell people too, even if you are just a moderate drinker and you hear a conversation like this and you're like, "Wow, I really want to figure out my direction in life." You're going to have a lot easier time doing it if you step away from the booze.
Absolutely. And
A
that's really
lot
what
easier
I'm
time
trying
doing
to
it.
convey
At
on
least
TikTok.
try it for a little bit. And then if you can't step away from the booze, that's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So It's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of layers to peel off
Yeah.
on this path. But, you know, if you listen to and believe in a lot of the spiritual teachers out there, you know, our souls choose a lot of this before we come here.
hun-
So, you know, it's like I chose at a soul level along those lines. I chose that alcohol addiction and all of the pain and regret and everything that it caused was going to be something that my soul learned through.
Yes.
You know,
100%.
fortunately or unfortunately, it's interesting. And this is another can of worms like lucid dreaming or spontaneous out of body experiences. I have what I swear is a pre birth memory. And
Ooh.
yeah, I've heard of people having these, and it's the only one I have. And it's like I was coming in, and it's almost like they say your spirit team, spirit guides, whatever, you know, they're there to see you off. They were kind of pushing me, you know, and I've heard that sometimes that happens, like the soul is about to incarnate into the body and you've chosen the blueprint and everything, but you get kind of cold feet at the end. Like, oh,
You're
let
like,
me
"What
out.
did
Like,
I sign
I
up
don't
for?
know. I don't know what, I don't like this plan. You know, like, oh, I don't want to do that.
I
You
changed
know,
my mind."
no, like, and you kind of almost, they almost like there are instances where your guides are force you into it. It's like there's a point of not coming back. You know, and people will say like miscarriages and things like that. They're oftentimes souls
Yeah.
that, you know, were going to come in, but then they decide at some point, like maybe the dynamics changed or this wouldn't be right for my development at the time. I don't know. But the pre birth memory that I think is what it is that I have is like me trying to back out at the last minute and I wasn't allowed to do it. Cause I really, really, there are some days, man, I wish I would have had, I wish I would be more normal. But then again, what is normal? And I guess in the grand scheme of things, if you really believe the way I believe, then this is the higher path. You know, turning back wouldn't to just to be normal wouldn't have got me where I want to go.
Absolutely not. And one thing that, um, I realized in that sacred plant ceremony,
Yeah,
what came to me very clearly was, you have done nothing wrong ever,
yeah,
and I forgive myself completely and
yeah,
totally, and it was like the universe was just giving me a warm hug
yeah.
in that moment, and, it's like and I just don't believe in the word failure, you know?
No,
It's a signpost in a different direction, and this is so much or such a big part of my method is just learning to forgive yourself,
yeah.
and move with compassion and grace through life because, we wouldn't be here talking to each other right now.
No. And you know what? At the end of the day, what helps me with that is to remember that even what we think are the worst people out there, you know, whether we're acting in a way we find unpreferable and we are in the category of worst people to the worst people who have ever existed. Without that worse, the light can't emerge from it. You can't have light
Absolutely.
without dark. So even that is a mechanism of God. That is still from
I know.
mother, father,
Yeah,
source, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, universe. You can't have light without the dark. So you have to forgive it all. It's
I
all
know.
part of the experience. That's hard.
Even yeah, it's hard, and
Uh-huh.
being on TikTok, can I just say, is like a spiritual experience.
Nah,
Like,
yeah.
dealing with okay, like, the haters on there, the nasty comments, and I'm like, I'm literally just over here it's a practice in myself, not
Yeah.
taking it on personally, not taking it personally, but also, like, sending love to you because what
Yeah.
happened? What
I
happened to you that you're trying to make me feel
yeah.
as bad as you, and I'm really just trying to help
I was
people.
having that thought the other day. I was reading not on yours, but you know, some TikTok comments of this, just a very nice post with, you know, their opinion and everything. And then some of the just negative vibes that were coming out of some people.
Yes.
Like, and I'm just like looking at it and I can almost feel their energy coming off the negative comments. And I was just like, boy, what a low spot they must be in energetically to have to put that out into the world. It's like such
Yes.
blinded darkness
Yeah.
or dark. I hate to say darkness, dense energy. I like to
It's
talk about dark, light, high vibe, low vibe. I like to talk about it as energy, like more dense or less dense, because I
yeah.
don't like to ever give the idea that it's like bad or worse, because I don't really know that I believe in good or bad in the typical human context anymore. I think
Totally.
we have things that are more dense energetically and things that are lighter energetically.
Yeah.
And that was just dense energy, you know?
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
ugh, not mine anymore. But back when I was drinking, man, I used to be that person. I really did.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Same. Yeah.
I'd jump online and I'd argue about things and politics and all that. And then when do you have a six pack and you blah, 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 you need to be telling people what they needed to be. They needed to
Right.
think like
Right.
I did as I was sitting there with 12 beers in me. They need to be thinking like me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm like, I don't have any desire to even have those arguments anymore. I
No.
don't even care enough about the things they're arguing about anymore to put energy
No.
into it,
It's like, you do you. Okay. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna sit here and argue with you. It's not worth my
yeah,
energy.
yeah, which goes back to the little peace monks who are the sweet peace monks who are walking. Find the peace within yourself, and then you radiate it into the world. And that just might be me not having the desire to even engage in arguments about things
Yeah.
like social things and politics and all that,
Yeah, but,
because
we're human and it can still hit you. I
it
could
still
be like,
can.
I
It
wanna
still
go into
can.
this.
I know, but it still can. But the better we are at being peaceful within ourselves, that desire leaves. Because, like
Yes.
I said, when you have somebody who's out there in dense energy and combative and arguing, if you go out there and do that, you're not going to change their mind. But
Exactly.
now you have two people in that energy. When if you don't
Exactly.
have the desire, at least you still only have one person in that energy, and then their life path, their karma, whatever you want to call it, will guide them in such a way to where they get like this eventually, whether it's
Yeah.
this life, another life, whatever. But you throwing yourself at them is not gonna, now you're only taking yourself backwards. Yeah.
Have you ever heard what's the saying, like, you can't feed a fly honey or something like that?
Yeah. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, Casey, we are over an hour now, so I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for being here with us. I so appreciate this. You have been wonderful to chat with. Where can people find you? I know on TikTok you go as the Spiritual Sober Method. They can
Yes.
search that.
Yep, that's also on Instagram and YouTube as well. And
Okay.
so it's just that all across the board, the spiritual sober method. And again, my book is Go to the Desert, Healing from Alcohol, A Spiritual Perspective, and that's on Amazon
Okay.
and in my TikTok shop.
All right. Well, Casey, thank you so much. Thank you for now being part of our
Thank
Sober Awakening
you.
family. We love you here, and
Thank you
best
so
wishes
much.
in everything that you do.
Yes, you as well. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Sober Awakening podcast. We are so grateful and excited that you're part of this journey. As always, please remember any businesses, services, or individuals mentioned here are shared because they resonate with our mission. We receive no financial benefit from promoting them. It's all about guiding you toward what inspires and empowers your journey. If you've found value in this podcast, please consider supporting our mission with a tax-deductible donation at www.soberawakening.org. Every contribution helps us continue providing resources and inspiration for those seeking sobriety and spiritual fulfillment. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and visit us at soberawakening.org for more resources and upcoming events. Let's continue this path together toward a life of sobriety and spiritual fulfillment. We love you so much. Until next time, stay sober-minded and intuitively guided.